We've got a lot of people on Zoom today recovering from our congregational dinner. And I'm glad we have a way of opening this sanctuary to people who are in their homes for whatever reason. And I ring this peace bowl today with joy to be back home, and with joy that the snow started the day after we got home. I also ring this peace bowl for our collective hope for peace, and to recognize that these lands we love, where we love to go out hiking and walking with our dogs, and even in our neighborhood, we have a woman who walks with her cat out into the woods. Walking with our animals into the woods, that these lands that we love, that these lands are the ancestral lands of the Yavapai people, the Wipukepas, the Cuevkepayas, the Tolkepayas, and the Yavapai. And with that feeling that it is good for all of us to be here in our spiritual home, I invite you to rise in body or spirit and let us sing together one of our favorite songs, Morning Has Come. It's 1000 in the Teal hymnals. It's the first one, the absolute first song. Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. A new day dawns, once more the gift is here. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes to see that life abounds. Open hearts to welcome it among us. The light of career shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Good morning. And all right, love it. Welcome to Granite Peak Unitarian Universalist Congregation in sunny Prescott, Arizona. And a big welcome home to Reverend Patty. It's wonderful to have you and Mary Lou back among us. I am Deidre Schwartz, your worship associate for today's service. We extend a warm welcome to all. We're glad you are able to join us here in person and on Zoom, and hope you are all in good health. This is the mission statement of our congregation. We are a compassionate spiritual community that celebrates diversity, nurtures the personal and spiritual growth of all ages, shares our gifts, promotes justice for all, and serves the world we live in. Please gather with us for socializing and coffee after the service in Davis Hall. Or for those on Zoom, please join for the breakout rooms. If you are joining us for the first time, please check out our website at prescottuu.org
for more information about us. And if you're here in person, there will be time to introduce yourself at the end of the service, and then please stay and chat with another member or two. We'd like to thank Lena Huben for the wonderful piano music today, Mary Lou Prince for her music leadership and the Granite Peak Singers, Tracy Augustine for taking the lead for all things AV, and all the volunteers today ensuring the service is a wonderful experience. Please now take a moment to set your phones on worship mode. In addition to the announcements that we're showing on the screen before the service, you can read about other things happening at GPUUC in the weekly Peak newsletter, on our website, in Reverend Patty's videos, and we have some printed copies of the announcements at the welcome table just outside of the sanctuary. Sandra Palacios, our faith development coordinator, is teaching ages 5 and older across the street at our faith development building. We begin our service in the Unitarian Universalist tradition of lighting the chalice. Our chalice lighter this morning is Fred Fort. Today we light the chalice with these words from A Communion of Heart and Soul by Bruce Southworth of the UUA. For the gift of this day, and for our community of spiritual nurture and compassion, we give thanks. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. May our many sparks meet and merge in communion of heart and soul.
Good morning again. Good morning. I would like to greet some of these people on Zoom, and I am seeing people out there. Jan and Arthur, welcome. And I just think that we need to take a minute and welcome each other. So this is unplanned, as many of the best things in our lives are. But I invite you to rise in body or spirit and greet somebody who's around you, maybe somebody you haven't seen in quite a while. And I wanted to greet, there is, Joan is there, and Karen, and Bronwyn, and Jack, I don't see him, and Karen Kelsey, hi Kelsey, glad you're there, and Deb Walter, and I know Jack Wood you're there, and Barbara Wilson's there, but I don't see faces. So, and let me just, I don't know. And Judy Davis and Sue Nauman and Karen and Merle and Jerry Carley and Connie and Edie and Drew. My gosh, welcome Drew. And Michael Schwartz and Tony Dennis. And Kathleen Schaefer. We are glad that you are all with us today. Thank you for coming. Now I'm going to go out of the thing and we'll be back.
We'll see. Yeah. Last year was by surprise.
I knew you would be hard to stop, but I took the leap anyway, knowing you would be hard to stop. It is good to be home. We got home right before that big snowfall, and I feel, looking out on the landscape around us, how happy the earth is to be receiving all this moisture. And we're the lucky ones who aren't getting too much. Seems it's just right. And the daffodil bulbs in front of our house are feeling that sunshine as we are, that's coming a little earlier and staying a little later, that's making me feel hopeful. Without words, without a lot of discussion, it just makes hope rise in my heart with those spears that are probably coming up under the snow, that are going to keep coming up, and in no time at all, those daffodils are going to burst into bloom. Thank you, Earth. And we feel in this earth such fire and such energy, and we feel it in this community. We felt it last night at our congregational dinner. Yay again to Marianne Erickson and all those who helped, which was a big village. And I think many of you are on Zoom today. And some of you are out there, and I know you may fall asleep during this service, and that's fine. But it is that fire of our commitment to this congregation, to each other, to this earth, to living in alignment with our values that keeps us gathering in this space. And I am glad to be here. And now let us rise in body or spirit, and we will sing that song we love, Fire of Commitment. And it is number 1028 in your teal hymnals if you want to. And the hymnals are in the back if anybody is missing one.
From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. The fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze. When our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living brings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. The fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze. When our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
Thank you. That was pretty good for a tired group of party goers. And now let us say our covenant together. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant together. And now I invite Marianne Erickson to come up here for the stewardship covenant.
Good morning to all of you on Zoom and to all of you here. It's wonderful to see so many people here who were at the dinner last night. It's good that we got out before 7:30 and so we could get a good night's sleep. I'm wearing green today because I'm thinking about funding our fiscal year 23-24 that begins in July. And I'm going to ask the stewards who are on Zoom to please raise your hand as I call your name. And if you're here in the sanctuary, to please stand up for our covenant. First, BJ Allgood, Frank Beeson, Bobby Bollinger, Joan Brown, there goes her hand on Zoom, Paula Burrows, Jerry Carley. She may be on another screen, but she's usually on Zoom. Marianne Clark, Karen Denny, if you're on Zoom, I know you're traveling in Texas. Russ Erickson, Fred Fort, Lydia Garrett. Oh, that's right. She's out of town. Art Gorski. Art Gorski. Patrick Grady is at home caring for his wife. He may be on Zoom. Chris Hawthorne. Elaine Hayes. Suki Jones, who may be out of town. Where are you? She's out of town. With Fred Krapps. Stephen Lovejoy. Oh, okay. Ardella Moran. Chris Parsons. Lee Phillips, who may be on Zoom. She was there last night. Robert Shagog, who's out of town. Mary Steenhope. She's out of town. Deb Walter, who may be on Zoom. Kelsey Wilkes, who's on Zoom. Barbara Wilson. Oh, okay. And Barbara Wilson. Thank you for raising your hand if you're on Zoom. You may put your hand down. It's probably very tired now. So we have some slides for the congregation as well as the stewards. Let's begin with the first one, with the stewards. We stand before you committed to doing our best to make our congregation's dreams come true by asking each of you to connect with us to generously support our mission and our vision. And now the congregation in response to the stewards. And now the stewards again. Understanding that stewardship is a spiritual practice, we commit ourselves with open hearts and helping hands to make personal connections and build community with you. And the congregation. And the stewards. We commit ourselves to listen respectfully to your dreams and concerns. We promise to keep private what should be kept private and pass along only that information that you have asked us to share. And finally, the congregation. So today is the official start of our Canvas campaign. Marianne, pardon me, one last one, everyone, sorry. And together, we commit ourselves to enjoy each other's company, to respect each other's ideas, perceptions, and beliefs, and to have a good time while raising funds to ensure the future health of our congregation. Thank you for noting that. And the stewards may sit down. And I want to note that today is the first day of our Canvas campaign. It goes through the end of March, and we appreciate your support. And let me know if you have any questions about being a steward, if the stewards come across a question they can't handle, or the congregation if they have a question about pledging. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marianne. And now I have to admit that after our gathering, I had one of those moments that I sometimes have after I have spoken, and that is, oh, I forgot someone very important. And I realized last night that I had brought up to your attention Marianne Erickson and our board president, but I had missed someone who has been incredible for 4 years. And it has been 4, hasn't it? Or 5, 4. And that is our treasurer, Russ Erickson. It's almost like how mothers never get, they never get celebrated because they're so intertwined with the life that you stop seeing the incredible gifts that they give. So I would like you to join me in thanking Russ Erickson for the way he has served so beautifully these last 4 years. And we would love for you and Lena to take the flowers home today as a reminder of our love and appreciation. And now I invite you again to listen to the sound of our peace bowl and we're going to enter a different kind of time. We're going to breathe together. Let us breathe together in this place where we are so lucky to have clean air. Let us breathe in that clean, fresh air and feel beneath us this earth that we love so well, this earth that has so many layers down and down, farther and farther to that core that is always changing. And now let us extend ourselves up into that sky with the clouds that for me are always shifting shapes into dragons and other animals and incredible cotton candy covering and filling this sky. We come to this place each Sunday carrying our joys and sorrows, and also connected with the joys and sorrows of this world. We know that all through this world, in this week, babies were born. We also recognize the suffering in the borderlands of Turkey and Syria. The mourning of over 50,000 people who were killed in that earthquake. Some family members we met during our time away who were connected with those places in Syria. We hold the Ukraine. We also hold the Somali people who don't have a war that's a year old. They have a war that's been going on since 2009. And Yemen, where a war has been going on since 2014. We are connected to all of these places. And all of the change, all of the joy and sorrow of this earth. And in our own community, we hold Karen Hagberg and Kathleen Schaefer, who are mourning the loss of their dear people. We hold Frank Beeson and hope that doctors have wisdom to find out the whys of what he is experiencing. And we hold Joanne and Mike Fogel and Drew Potter. We hold you, Drew, in joy that you have returned to us and are now at Las Fuentes. I know that just as I forgot names last night, there are names I am unaware of. I invite you to bring those names into the chat and into this sanctuary, and I will repeat them. The ones from the sanctuary I will repeat so that people on Zoom will be able to hear. Who is on your hearts? Who on and minds? Ah, yes, Leslie Grady. Leslie Grady. In joy because her surgery went very well. Thank you. Thank you, Marianne. Kelsey and her husband. Yes, Kelsey and her husband. I don't, from Joyce. Joyce Dennison, who contacted me just yesterday, who is undergoing cancer treatment in Scottsdale. We hold her in this community and send her love. Thank you. Good. I want the chat. Okay. Oh, and Joelle Catan, who was a member here. Jack Wood is mentioning her name. And Edie is mentioning Alice. Alice. Is there anyone else? Barbara Jacobson. Let us hold Barbara Jacobson. Oh, and Chris's friend George, who recently lost his wife. Any other? So now we will enter a time of meditation, and we will have, Lena will play some music, and I invite you to come and add stones to the water to remember the people who have been mentioned and who are not mentioned. And there are so many. Let us enter that time, and after which I will give a meditation prayer. Please join me in a spirit of meditation and prayer. Spirit of life, we give thanks for this interconnected web of life that connects us to this earth, to all life. We ask for blessings on those who are suffering, and for those who have joy. We ask for community to share in that joy. And we ask for people who are suffering to have people around them that will give them comfort. In your many names we pray. Amen. And now I invite you that we will sing together, walking with you.
Walking with you, walking with you is my prayer.
As we prepare to take the offering this morning, let us embrace the feeling of connection and community that we have when we gather here each week. Let us remember that this congregation and its programs are supported by your generosity. We also give back to the greater community through our Seeds of Support program. The March Seeds of Support recipient is the Unitarian Universalist Justice Arizona. The vision of UU Jazz is to energize the people of faith to create an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, socially just life for all those who live in Arizona. Its mission is to engage Arizona Unitarian Universalists in justice making through nurturing congregational social justice ministries, connecting UU activists and congregations across the state, partnering with like-minded justice organizations, and empowering UUs to work for socially just public policy. To give online, the link is available in the chat, or you can also go to our website homepage where there is a donate button. Please enjoy our offertory music. We acknowledge the generosity of spirit expressed through this offering. What is given in love is received in gratitude. Blessed be.
I wanted to have the people collecting the offering to start doing some kind of a Hollywood dance. That would have been great. Harriet Tubman was born into the horror of slavery. And when she was 25 years old, she risked her life and she made her way to freedom. She spent her life learning the ways of freedom. And she longed to give it to her people who didn't know those ways. Until the end of the Civil War, she spent most of her time going back and forth into the slave states and bringing people to freedom. Once she and 150 Black Union soldiers went on gunboats into South Carolina and brought back hundreds of people. The biographer, Sarah Bradford, whose work Life of Harriet Tubman was an attempt to help her be able to live at the end of her life, to be able to eat food, because she had never been compensated. She said this about Harriet: sometimes members of her party would become exhausted, footsore, and bleeding, and declare they could not go on, they must stay where they dropped down and die. Others would think of a voluntary return to slavery as better than being overtaken and carried back, and would insist upon returning. Then there was no remedy but force. The revolver carried by this bold and daring pioneer would be pointed at their heads. Dead Negroes don't tell tales, she would tell them. Go on or die. Well, and so she compelled them. She compelled them up that journey to freedom. And as they moved forward, she became their Moses. And she opened their minds to a different view of God that was taken away, that had been given to them by slaveholders, of a God who did not smile at their chains, but a God who wanted them to be free. Her tombstone reads, "Servant of God, well done." Wouldn't that be great for a tombstone? We wrote this song for her. Come with me, my people.
Come with me, my people. Come with me to the Lord has sent me to lead you to the That land is golden, there's freedom in the air. Your shackles will loosen, your chains will fall away. Go down, Moses, let my people go. Way down in Egypt land,
I need to shake. Oh, could everybody just rise in body or spirit and shake a little bit? It will help me. If it doesn't help you, and if you can sit in your seats, but just okay, think I'm ready. Here we go. This story of Exodus, of this escape from enslavement in Egypt to the promised land, was what inspired Harriet Tubman, and it connected enslaved people with a powerful narrative in the Hebrew Bible. It gave an alternative, a way out of suffering into liberation. That story was interwoven with miracles, the parting of the Red Sea that brought the Israelites to safety, and then the coming back together that drowned the Pharaoh's army. There is so much action that when Hollywood made a movie and needed an actor for Moses, Charlton Heston seemed perfect. Yet, after all this action, the most interesting part of this story for me happens after the action, when they are wandering. After that spectacular parting of the Red Sea, or some say the Reed Sea, I imagine that people thought that this spectacular stuff would happen one after another, and that soon they would be at their destination. That promised land was probably a few days, maybe a few weeks or months away. It takes 9 hours and 23 minutes to drive the 461 miles from Cairo to Jerusalem. Walking 5 miles a day, it would only take around 3 months to walk that distance. It took them 40 years. I remember once when Lou and I were traveling and we took a side road. There was following this sign to an ancient tree. I think it might have been the oldest tree in the world or something like that. You know, one of those signs you see. So we went off the road and then we wound around and saw no tree that looked like that tree or anything marked. And finally, we saw another sign that looked exactly like the sign that had made us turn off the road that told us about this ancient tree. Then we traveled about another hour, passing things that started to look really familiar. And still, we did not find the tree. We spent about 3 hours looking for the tree, but luckily we were able to find our way back to the main road and continue our travel. But even those hours felt really disorienting. I don't know how many of you have experienced being lost and wandering. I think most of you have. I can't imagine what it was like to spend 40 years wandering in the kind of same places. I imagine in the cold winter, from the cold winter to that very, very hot summer, and I imagine that all those mountains and like even the bushes started to look familiar. Like, didn't we pass this like 3 years ago? Isn't that mountain? Gosh, that looks familiar. I wonder if they felt like they were in some kind of strange time warp, you know, where you just can't get out of it. As a metaphor, I find this fascinating because I believe in my life and in many of our lives, we sometimes have these times when we feel like we're wandering. We're wondering if we'll ever have the happy life that we thought we would have. And we want to have that feeling of expectation when we wake in the morning, instead of simply wanting our coffee. Instead of simply wanting to get through the day, we want to have something more. Those are the times I think of as the wandering times. And I've spoken to many of you about your lives. And I've heard the narratives of first marriages that didn't fit. And that you didn't choose someone that you wanted to stay with in that first marriage. And then, or maybe you grew up, but then the second, or maybe even the third time, you transformed enough and you met somebody who'd been doing that work too. And there it was, the promised land. Or sometimes you just discovered that it was really great to just be on your own. Sometimes if you meet your beloved, as I did in your early 20s, you still don't get to that promised land right away. There's always wandering. And then there's those times that feel really good. Have you ever wondered if there was a lesson during those times, if there was some kind of lesson you needed to learn in order to get to your promised land? I have had that question sometimes. And then with these Israelites for 40 years, there was the problem of food. They were in a desert. They were crossing a desert. They were on the move. They couldn't. I don't believe, maybe Marianne knows, but I don't believe that they cultivated at all. Anyway, I wonder if they could have gotten prepared like I've seen the Denny's get prepared, where Karen spends a whole month freeze drying things, but they're only gone for a month. And the Israelites were doing this for 40 years. Once I went on a journey into the desert many years ago, and I was with two other people. And by the end of the week, we were wandering for a week. They knew where we were, but I didn't know where we were. And by the end of the week, even though we had brought all of this food and we were eating nicely, everything had sand in it because you couldn't use water to wash dishes. I mean, you needed water to drink or to make, for something. So everything, all of the dishes became filled with sand, a little crunchiness. In this narrative in the Hebrew Bible, the God of these scriptures knew that his people along this 40 years that he felt that they needed some encouragement. They needed a hospitality team like ours who provides coffee, and they have encouraged us. They are doing that work for us under the wonderful direction of Chris Hawthorne. And sometimes we all need the promise of a cake. These have been incentives to get you on Zoom back here as much as we can. And I want to think about too, that wonderful potluck that brought so many people on January 1st and surpassed our expectations. So the Israelites, they received encouragement in the form of golden flakes that covered the earth at dawn. Imagine with me the wonder of that first morning when people woke up and they saw that the ground was covered in golden flakes. And then the first person tasted them and said, "It tastes like honey. It tastes good. It's food." And then they would gather them up. These were a gift from heaven, which the Hebrew word that was used is the word manna. Manna, they asked, meaning, what is it? What is it can be said in various ways, like, what is it? Oh, what is it? But I believe that this gradually, as they knew that this was a way that they could survive, not only survive, but flourish in this desert, that they were wondering, what is this miracle? What is this? There are various theories about what these flakes actually were, But what interests me the most is that what is it stuck as the name, retaining that attitude of curiosity towards a gift that they needed in order to survive. I imagine people in that group constructed various answers to that question, and every morning the miracle recurred. They didn't have to eat lizards and insects. They had those wafers that tasted like honey. That mystery could have happened just once, like when Moses hit the rock and the water came out, the spring came out. But this miracle happened every day. Each day they woke to this miracle of sustenance. And the instructions around manna were clear. You could only gather enough for one day. Manna could not be stored. It would rot. Rabbinical writings describe that there were many ways that people gathered manna. Some lay down on the ground and caught it in their hands as it floated down from heaven. I imagine they opened their mouths to them. Others had brooms and swept it up into containers. But I like that image of people lying on the ground and watching it float from heaven. Each week for us in this sanctuary, we ask for generosity to support the places around our community and state that are spreading justice as UU Jazz today. And then every year, we talk with individuals about giving in our community. We ask each of us, all of us, to participate in providing the sustenance that we need to survive and flourish. And miraculously, each year, we open our hearts and there is enough. Like manna, these gifts are necessary for our survival, but it is more than that. Giving for something we believe in, giving to contribute to something meaningful in the world, changes our hearts, makes our hearts grow, makes us feel good. Throughout our lives, we each have had different resources to draw upon, and each gift is worthy and much appreciated, no matter what the amount. Each year in this time of giving, I want us to start asking ourselves a new question about this gift that we give. Alongside the amount, I want us to think, what is this? What is held in this gift? What do we mean through this gift? What are we giving through this gift? Let's think about that for a moment. If we think about our gift, what is this? Do any of you have any ideas? Does anything come to mind? What is this? Salvation. Ooh. Salvation. Interesting word. Thank you. Thank you, Peter. I've had more time to think about it than you have. And it actually took me a long time to think through all of this. But when I thought of all of you and your faithfulness in giving, and when I think of all of you and I ask, what is this in your gifts? I see within your gifts an affirmation of your hope that Granite Peak congregation can make a difference both in your life and in the world. your hope that this congregation will continue and flourish. I also feel and have thought that it shows your love. It shows your love of your fellow Granite Peakers, whose lives have been intertwined with yours, some for only weeks and months, and others for long, long years. It shows your love of the greater community that we serve. And I believe this stewardship season gives us an opportunity to reaffirm our hope and our love. Harriet Tubman, through love, a very tough love, provided her own kind of manna to the people she led out of enslavement. She gave them her vision and her knowledge of freedom. Let us nurture within us that curiosity towards the gifts that abound around us. Full of wonder, let us ask that question, what is this? And let us be thankful in that moment. In that moment, let's not try to shore up things, but to stay in that moment and create expectations of more and more. We don't need to do that. We just need to bring that gentleness of curiosity. What is this? During this month, you will be visited. I will be visited, I think, by a steward. This is a chance for you to talk of your dreams, of the meaning of your contribution, of your hope and of your love, and salvation. May we add curiosity to our conversations, and may we give each other that gift, a wondering of what new wisdom might come, what new dream might emerge in this time. Metaphorically, I invite you with me to open our hands and receive those golden wafers. What is this, we ask, when we have that unexpected taste of honey that spreads through us? And what lies within the hope, the love, and the joy? Amen, and may it be so. And now I invite you to rise in body or spirit. We will sing the song that embodies this journey we have together, Blue Boat Home. If you feel comfortable, this is a really fun time to link arms and sway with the boat. I invite you to please rise in body or spirit. These mountains and plains far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I can say
the ocean travel, and the earth is my blue.
Imperfect but wonderful. We give thanks as a community for the many gifts that we give each other every time we meet, for the joy and for the love that has been spread through our community from the beginning of our founding. We give thanks for the people who come to us each week. We give thanks for all of the gifts that appear before us. And let us think, what is this? What is this? Amen. And may it be so. Thank you all for being here. And we are going to have people introduce themselves if they wish. But before that, we will extinguish our chalice. So, because that part is very boring for our Zoom people. So let us extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. I'm sorry. Just got hopping through it. Oh, but it's after the extinguishing of my. Okay. So before we introduce ourselves, we will have the honor of listening to the postlude. Or do you want to speak before the postlude? Barb is coming to the platform. Yes, she's in movement. What is this, Barb?
Well, let me just say first that because of the sermon today and the whole month of March, where we are asked to give and keep the church going, I think it's also a time, I think it's very appropriate we do the rummage sale in March, because it also takes time and talent. And that's what we're here to ask you for today. The rummage sale basically begins next Sunday when we take all the chairs and put them up on the thing and maybe bring in some tables. There are sign-up sheets in the back of the church. There are only 2, 3, 4 names on each day. It sure would be reassuring if we had more names on there. If you're on Zoom and you're not here to sign in, either contact myself or Charlotte, and we'd be glad to put you on the list. You want to talk about the trucks? Sure. Okay. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Charlotte, who you haven't met because she hasn't been here for a while.
Yeah, COVID finally caught me. So we need trucks. We need not so many muscles because we're not doing furniture. We need people to provide a lunch on Wednesday and Thursday. So if you can't unpack boxes and bend and put things on hangers, then maybe you could bring us by a potato salad or something for some sandwiches so the workers can keep on into the afternoon. So we will be finishing up on Saturday late in the afternoon, and that's when we will definitely need trucks. We take what is left, we divide it up, we send it to CCJ, we send it to the NOAA and a few other thrift stores around town. So it is a lot of fun. The first year that I came here was 2008. And I didn't know a lot of people, but when you spend a week bending over and hanging up underwear and doing different things like, does anybody know what this is? Not to mention what we should price it. It is a lot of fun, and you do get close to people and you learn about them and you make friends. So we will really appreciate it if we could see more names on the sheets.